somebody named Booz. I know Ruth. I know Obed. I know Jesse. So where did Booz come from? Oh, maybe it means Boaz. Oh, and Solomon means Solomon. Oh, and Aram maybe. Let's see. Is it possible to have things in? Let's see. Okay, so here we go. Here's another one. So Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. So from Jesse, Obed begat Jesse, Jesse begat David the king. And David the king begat Solomon. So that was Solomon, was not Solomon. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep reading. Yeah. So I'm saying that's why you got to keep going on. Okay. Solomon of her that had been the wife of Urias. How would you know what happened to Urias? You got to read the Old Testament story of what happened in Kings, 1st and 2nd Kings. You got to go back to the Old Testament. So Solomon came from.
So it says here Solomon that had been the wife of Urias.
So Solomon is the son of the union of David and Bathsheba. After he sinned with Bathsheba, they had a first child, which was permitted to die as a punishment for the sin of their action after they repented, because the punishment for sin is death. But Jesus paid the price for us in paying the price of death for us. Back then, they had to give sacrifices and atonement for it. Because David was very repentant, and so was Bathsheba. God forgave them of the sin. God's not looking to destroy people. And even through a sin or bad action, God can still bring something. Doesn't mean we go sinning and say God will fix it, make it nice. Don't go willfully sinning God with a conscience, saying I'm a sinner and God will make it better. You'll give me trouble. Don't do that. They messed up because of falling for lust and pride and all this stuff, and for different reasons. As we mess up. That's what I said. When you see these stories, put ourselves in there. That's us. Same thing, us. That's all of us. We're messing. Are we sleeping around, doing things bad, smoking, drinking, cussing, fighting, stabbing, killing? Are we doing the same thing? Okay. Life and death, still the same thing. Us. Are we disobeying God? Yes. Are we being good to God? Yes. Are we having family too? Yes. Are we having children too? Yes. Are we having relationships? Yes. We have all that stuff. I am a sinner saved by God's mercies and grace. So is everybody else. Okay? So we are the people that God is speaking about. Old Testament and New Testament. Same story. This book is a living testimony of what Jesus wants for us and to learn about him. So when you say, I don't understand the stories, I don't understand this begats, read it with an open mind. It's okay. Reserve judgment, reserve it, put it aside, don't say anything yet. And then later on, say, go back to the Old Testament and read the stories and say, oh, now I see how it relates. The Bible, from what I understand, gives gaps, gives you reason and room to kind of say, let me think about it a bit. Let me see, does it make sense? They do this and do. Does it make sense? It gives you time to go back and say, let me see if this thing makes any sense. I know these names. Some names sound similar. Some names sound different. But what is semantics or syntax? When words sound similar, homophones, homonyms, sound similar, spelled differently. And even the way I'm reading it could be different. If ask a Jewish person to read the books of the Bible, they say differently. We say Sabbath. They say Shabbat. You say some people Spanish, Sabado. How do you say Sabbath in Tyson? How do you say Saturday in Tyson, day of the week?
Saturday?
Yeah. No pressure, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to that one. How do you say in Tagalog? Saturday.
Sabado.
Saturday, Sabado. Interesting. You see? Translations. Sabbath, and what the name Saturday? I don't see the name Saturday in the book of the Bible, but it says seventh day of the week. It goes back after Jewish people had to try to trace the genealogy, and these names are given to them also by the Romans and other different groups that made the names of the week, like Saturday, Saturn, the first, how they measured the days on the stars they were on the constellation. Sunday, the sun, the biggest, brightest star right now, in our galaxy, right? The sun. So the sun gets the first preeminence. Then moon day, Monday became after that, because the moon reflects the light from the sun. And then so on. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Saturn day. Okay? There's a reason for these things. God can use even humans' little intervention and little wisdom to then make it work. But when it comes down to a test of it, God's wisdom stands paramount to humans' wisdom. Let's go to this one still. So Solomon, right, came from David and Bathsheba, right? Of her that had been the wife of Uriah. Had been the wife of Uriah. Sadly and tragically, Uriah died because of bad actions of David and Bathsheba. And it's a sad story, and I think about every time.
Who died?
Uriah, the Hittite. A loving person, a really good fighting for Israel. He came into the Israel as part of an, they said they want to join to the children of Israel, the chosen people. And because of the actions of some, he paid the price and penalty for it. It's heartbreaking to hear the story, and I'm like, they had an adulterous relationship, and then Uriah ended up getting drunk and killed by David's hand by sending him to fight at the forefront of a battle that didn't have to happen the way it did because of lust and pride and trying to hide and cover up sin. When you try to hide and cover up sin, it adds damage and danger. It can kill people. It can take people's lives, including our own. David and Bathsheba was supposed to be stoned to death for the act they did. It was atrocious in God's sight. It made God look bad. It does a lot of damage and do things. And then later on, as God said, from that action, the sword shall not leave David's house from that. Then David's children rose up against him. And even one brother raped the sister. And everything has happened after. And one brother killed the other brother. And it's like drama after that. The kingdom split. There's a lot of history behind this stuff. And it's like, whoa, listen, you read the Bible and hear the stories in the Bible. Hollywood has nothing on the Bible. As much as sensational as you see it is, all those videos on screen, nothing on the Bible. Go read the stories in the Bible. It's like, whoa, intrigue, espionage, sabotage, all kind of stuff. What infidelity, incest, good stuff, bad stuff. Everything is there. And you say, how? God put it there for us to see that, listen, even these people here who are trying to do the best they can for God's will and God's wisdom can still mess up. And then God cast them away? No, God said, listen, I'm going to give you time to get yourself together. When you're repentant and see yourself, you harden not your heart, I'm going to show you what I can do with you. Think of Saul and Paul. Did God use them? What about Peter? What about the other disciples? Did God use them? Even Judas Iscariot, God's still allowed to be among him, to join with him because didn't God say what? God said, let the wheat and tares grow together and he will do the separate in the end. Did Judas finally get separated? Was he repentant? I mean, I'm hoping by the grace of God he might be in heaven when you finally meet together, and he might have repented before he hung himself, But here, Judas Iscariot hung himself. This Judas didn't hang himself. So this Judas is not Judah, it's Judah. Judah, one of the tribes, son of Jacob. So you have to put the story together and just think a moment. Say, what does it mean? How come it? Okay, so I'm not going to belay too much. Just saying, don't just stop at this thing and say, that's it. I'm confused. No, keep reading. And I will too, so I won't stop yakking off, okay? And Solomon begat Rehoboam. I know he said Roboam, but it's also Rehoboam, I knew. Rehoboam, different spelling, right? Rehoboam, different spelling, but same name. Begat Abiah. Abiah begat Asa. Asa begat Josaphat. Does it sound like Jehoshaphat to you? Remember the story? Jehoshaphat? You see? Same name, but you'll learn this stuff later when you read the New Old Testament stories. We're here. So the same sounding name, spelled differently, has a whole different thing. Jehoshaphat begat Joram. Joram begat Ozias. And Ozias begat Jotham. And Jotham begat Achaz. And Achaz begat Ezekiah? Hezekiah? Hezekiah begat Manasseh. And Manasseh begat Ammon. Ammon begat Josias. Interesting. Josiah, Josiah, right? And Josiah begat, Jeconias and his brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon. So Babylon spelled Babylon. So when you get a time, go back to the Old Testament, read the stories over and see what I'm talking about. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconias begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zorobabel. And Zerubbabel begat Abiud, and Abiud begat Eliakim, and Eliakim begat Azor. Azor begat Sadok, and Sadok begat Achim, and Achim begat Eliud. We're trying to find out the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Where did he come from? Generation. Why did God put those generations there? So you can trace your history. Say, is the Bible true? Has it stood the test of time? Can archaeological findings prove it? He mentioned Babylon. He mentioned about Judah and Judas and all these different groups of Jacob and all the stuff in Egypt. Trace it back. The Bible confirms itself. Okay? Where did Jesus come from? Let's see. Zerubbabel begat Abiud, and Abiud begat Eliakim. Eliakim begat Azor, and Azor begat Sadok, and Sadok begat Achim, and Achim begat Eliud. Eliud begat Eliezer. Eliezer is spelled kind of similar. Eliezer begat Mathan. Okay, and Mathan begat Jacob. And Jacob begat Joseph. You see the name Jacob again? But you heard about Jacob was here. There's Jacob here. There's Jacob here. Jacob from Isaac and Rebekah. There's another Jacob here. The same people give the children the name of the patriarchs and prophets as a way kind of to symbolically say, just remember them. To say, I like the name. Like we have Elias.
But this Jacob is not Jacob.
Not the same Jacob. But it's a different Jacob. You see, but same name, different person. As you ask the question, two people with the same Jacob name. different times. Benjamin, they have Benjamin still. You know, how many people I know who are Jewish people have Benjamin, Benjamin. There's also Benjamin who knows friends. You know, that all people we know. I'm like, so we give each other names of the people to kind of remember the stories. I mean, they have their own reason. This is the reason why I know we did it. You know, and you know, like Elias. You know, remember God said before he comes, he shall send the name of the. He shall send Elias before the great day of his coming. Elias is also Elijah. Old Testament. It also means John the Baptist, New Testament. They have so the Bible is so complex, but it's also so easy and so nice that the same thing can mean many different things. One verse can mean a whole different book, whole different story by itself. That's like we can't stay in one topic. The Bible brings everything to life. It's a very unique, different kind of book. I cannot explain it fully. It's just not what you would expect. It's complex, but it's also very easy. God is very interesting. Okay, let's see this one. And Jacob begat Joseph. So Eliad begat Eliezer and so on. And they begat Jacob. Jacob begat Joseph. Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ. So Jesus has a lineage from Jacob. Which from Joseph and Mary. Interesting. See, I don't talk so much because I lose my voice. I'll let the app read, but let's continue. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. Did the Bible give generations? 14 generations, and from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. So he's telling you, add the generations together and you can trace it back to where it is, right? And from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations. So 14 plus 14 plus 14. 28 plus another 14. It's about what? Like 42? So there's a lot of generations between Joseph, and most of the generations almost like approximately 40 years, roughly, they term used. And a lot of things are here in the Bible,